unpacking the themes that evolve around a Shakespearean play called The Tempest. So the themes that I will be focusing on today is power and control, detailing about every aspect of the play that that evolves around power and control.
Hey, hi everyone. I'm Zakhele. I'm here to unpack the themes of The Tempest by William Shakespeare. Today I will focus on my two themes that I actually love, which is colonization and freedom. Um, Number one, I'd like to start on the first theme, which is colonization, in which in the play, the Prospero came to an island, in which Prospero see the island as the source in which he wants to own. Uh, Prospero, when he entered the island, he found people already existing in the island, in which he wanted to take control over the island, in which he colonized everyone on the island, such as Cariban. Cariban was colonized by Prospero, and Prospero converted Caribani from his culture to his culture, in which he changed his language and teaches him English, and sees him as a person who's not civilized, a person who's a savage, a person who of working.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but let's put this in modern perspectives. So, as you say, Caravan was enslaved, he was treated like a slave, he was controlled.
Yeah.
Now, in modern terms, we can see how the British came here in South Africa, they colonized us, they taught us their language, like the Afrikaner language, which is most dominant in nowadays. And when we got our independence, we like ended up learning that language as a way of living. We learned English, we learned different languages because of the colonizer. We can also look at this thing of controlling Caliban as a way of explaining more about the theme of control. Prospero not rather controls Caliban only. He controls everyone in the island with his magic. We can see how he uses his magical art to make people to play with his enemies senses. We can also see it when he was doing his magic, putting every enemy in a strange maze where they will knit up to their distractions.
Okay, I hear your point, but I have my own, I have my other view, in the play we see the different of racial class, in which Prospero uses Ariel as his servant and sees Karibani as someone who's there for a labor. Who's there for a labor. Karibani is seen as someone who's savage, who's not human enough. And this led to a dispossession in which Karibani is the owner of the island. The island was given to him by his mother, in which his mother colonized or imprisoned Ariel in the hole of a tree, in which Prospero come and rescued Ariel and uses that as a source of as uses that in leading him to do whatever he says.
Yeah, I get you. As
And we even see that today. If you are black, you face many challenges. A white person, if both person, white and a black, are in the same situation, obvious white is gonna be treated differently.
they are favored.
Yeah.
Like as for Ariel, he is favored. He's in favor of Prospero, as Prospero is controlling him to do the things that he wants, because he freed him from his imprisonment. So since is free from imprisonment, he is going to be used by Prospero. As Prospero uses that advantage to manipulate everyone in the island, as of this colonization started with the help of Ariel and his magical art. This this control of Prospero towards using Ariel and using Caliban, we also see more power and control in the play. In sort of like a power hunger. We can also see when King Alonso and Antonio, when they when they plot to seize out Prospero out of Milan and gain power, or remove Prospero from Milan and take over his dukedom. Since then, after that, we also see how this thing of power he uses it, because he also starts a storm when he sees his enemies coming. He creates a storm to make these enemies to come to his island, and then use them, have because he has unlimited power in the island. Now he's gonna use that power to sort of like take out his revenge to those people who did him wrong 12 years earlier. And the way he does this, he remains invincible in the island, where he is monitoring every conversation in the island through his help of Ariel. We can also see how Ariel made the King Alonso fell asleep, and then the power hunger comes from when Antonio influences Sebastian to take advantage of the sleeping king, kill the sleeping king to gain power in the Nepals, as they will be remain dead in this island. So this power hunger that evolves around Antonio and Sebastian wanting to control the Nepals, we can also see this in modern context, whereby political parties are fighting for the spot becoming the number one political party in that certain country. For example, in South Africa, we have a lot of political parties, namely EFF, ANC. The dominant one is ANC, and the other parties that are coming up, they want to dominate at the top, while the other one is still dominating. Now, in the same context, the sleeping king, which they want to kill, is the same way whereby the ANC in South Africa is failing, and some political parties, they want to take advantage of that. It's like a chaos that's created and then taking advantage of that chaos.
Yeah, I hear your point, and I just wanted to add something. As we did see that in the history, that whites have their own slogan, in which they say whites must have another white South Africans.
Yeah.
In which the slogan says whites uplift another white, in which blacks are left out of that slogan. And we see that part in the templates, where Prospero lifts Eliel out of the prison and uses him as his servant, in which Calibani is left out of that plan. In which Prospero uplifts Eliel and uses him. Yeah, Eliel is colonized, but not as much as Caliban.
Yeah, I get your point. He's not that colonized, but he is colonized in a way that takes advantage to the other person. More like a white person can help another white person. So in blacks, the thing, us as black people, we are here because we are in this situation because we are colonized. And then, as you noted before, that whites help their own. So now we are left behind. Since we are left behind, Caliban is left behind, becoming a slave to Prospero. Now we are, as blacks in modern context to the play, black people are left behind with proper sanitation, proper education than other people, because we are taught the little things that we should know, while the white people know more than us. They have a privilege. And we see that privilege in Ariel having the privilege of sitting next to a person who's in control of the island, then Caliban, who's just a thing that to be directed, just say go there, can bring up. It can be the point that we bring up back is the control, the manipulation of people in the island, how Prospero looks at people's conversation without being seen. We see that like modern surveillance data, like a person who creates a person who creates that phone has a back door of that phone, whereby he's gonna enter in that back door and look at your conversations, look at what is happening in your life without you knowing, without your consent, because this is in this modern time we are watched while we not see that we are being seen by other people. That advantage favors the white people because they are sort of like a monopoly in this world, because they have resources than us. Prospero has his magic, white people have their magic. So in this time, they use an advantage to make us think that we are free, but we are not. Yabo? So some other things that we are not aware of in the play, that the control, since Prospero has total control of the island, he justifies this control as self-care, like it's like care. When he tells Miranda all of these things that he's doing, he's trying to protect her since they were kicked out in Milano, so now they are back here, they want to protect themselves, they want to get more dominance here since they were kicked out. They were traveling back here in a carcass from a rotten carcass in a boat, as a boat. So now this control that he has is sort of like vengeance that he wants to return to Arab, like sort of like a revenge that is piling up inside. So these things that he's doing, he does not want to make his daughter see that he's doing all of these things. So as all of these things happen, we also have to talk about the freedom that happens in the play.
And we also have freedom, in which freedom originates around Ariel and Caliban, in which Caliban uses what he was taught by Prospero to fight against colonization, in which Caliban seeks for freedom from Prospero. Caliban uses the language that he was taught by Prospero to curse him, to fight against Prospero. Caliban seeks for his island. He wanted his island back in order to start his life and practice his own culture. Although his life is already damaged because he adapted to the Prospero way of living. So now he has to start again, try to figure out his culture, his language, in which Prospero doesn't want to give Haribani what he needs.
So to pause you a little bit, to bring that freedom back to modern context, we see how black people were fighting for their freedom to get back their land back from the colonizers. Going back then, we were fighting for our parents. We were fighting for our independence because South Africa was under the British monarchy. So in those days, people were dying, fighting for their freedom. The same applies to Caliban, who's fighting for his freedom. So all of those things show a more broader way of how the play is not passive, but it's sort of like an orchestrated pre-science magic to show us that different outcomes that happen in the play which relate to our lives in modern day.
And there's also a debate. There's also a debate about dispossession, in which whites claim that they came here in Africa and they find land, and the land was no one living in that land. In which Prospero came to an island and found the island on its own. Although there were people existing in that island, such as Caliban, but he claims that he is the one who came first in that island and discovered it himself.
Yeah, I get you. And we can also see this type of freedom sort of like a forgiveness. When in Act 5, in the end of the play, in Act 5, we see Prospero breaking his staff and drowning his books and showing us that power and desire, they are not infinite, they cannot last long. So you have to let go of the things that are still holding you back. So as for Caliban, who wants his life back, who wants his island back, ends up getting it because all the social order in the play is now returned to order. As for Prospero, he is laying down his power. So today, I hope you get a more glimpse about the themes of power and control, colonization and freedom in the Tempest. We thank you, the viewers, for being here with us, watching our video, talking about the themes that evolve around the play, how they shape the play. So power in the play manifests through magical dominance. To bring it to life, it's sort of like a political ambition. So yeah, that's our take on the themes of power and control, colonization and freedom about the Tempest.